Start recording. Go to Telegram. We're going to get the Telegram live. All right, so it looks like the stream is going. One of my concerns is that the audio from Telegram tends to come back on me. So, all right. Telegram's a little bit slower too. So I'm going to turn the audio off on Telegram. That way we don't get bothered there. And I'm going to check X. Boom, we are live, guys. Like first time. I'm so proud of us. We finally did it. So feel free to jump in chat anywhere, whether it's on X or here. We'll just chat about whatever. But we'll see how many people jump in and join us for the community update. But this one I'm recording for sure. So my head of marketing is going to finally not go off on me because I didn't record or something, because I've done that a couple times. All right. And hopefully the Telegram people can see as well. I've just got that minimized right now. Well, cool. So today I've got a pretty short update. We've been cranking on a bunch of things, but there is one thing in particular that got done last night that was really exciting. So I'm going to share that with you guys. If you're in Discord, you're already seeing my screen. But I just want to make it clear that if you have any questions, if you're watching this on X and you want to join in on the discussion, come on in to our Tashi stage in Discord. But you can also ask questions in X. You can ask questions here in the Discord chat, and I will get around to answering them. I know that there were some questions from last week that I wanted to get answered, but I'm not seeing where it is. So I will come back and look for those later. But the thing today that I wanted to really jump into was the documentation. So I'm really proud of where we are with the docs. We just made a huge update. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to that now. You know, I'm going to just monitor the stream real quick too. Okay, so yeah, if you notice, it's a whole new layout, all new documentation, all resonating with the new messaging and everything. The hyper focus we have now on robotics, AI, IoT devices. But I think this is going to be really helpful for you guys. I spent a lot of time kind of breaking it down to different sections. Obviously, we've got the top material here, which is just a summary of what is Tashi. We've broken it down into different sections here on the right, so you can go ahead and see what are the things that you can do if you're interested in looking at the white paper, or if you want to run a node. It's kind of like a quick way to learn more about Tashi. So this is pretty cool. You guys are really the first to hear about this. So this is alpha for you guys, because I literally launched this late last night. And I'm going to be publishing the PDF white paper. But there's our white paper, guys. That's it right there. We took the same material that is in our white paper, and we put it into our docs. So now you can just read through each section of the white paper with its technical appendices. And before I was kind of sharing the PDF stuff, but now we can just come in here and we can talk about, we can go through each of these sections and review them and go into depth on whatever we want to go through. So, and you guys get to jump in. So in particular, here, there we go. So that's good. In particular, I added a few things that I think is going to be really helpful for you guys. So node operators, you know, if you've been doing this, you know the node installation page and how to use all of this. This stuff will be getting updated with the new Node software. So this particular section right here hasn't been updated, but we added a whole bunch of other sections here to help people understand what it means to participate as a node operator. So why run a node? All kinds of things in here. The economic models, what makes this different. I mean, fundamentally, the goal of us building this DePIN is to allow people to utilize their underutilized resources and participate both technically and economically in cloud infrastructure. And so we even have like a whole section, I think it's on this page here, who should run nodes? Home users. If you've got underutilized resources, you're a home user. Infrastructure operators, those who have existing infrastructure that is underutilized but has connectivity. Data centers. So if you've got a data center or you're managing a data center, you've got underutilized resources, you can participate. If you're just a Web3 enthusiast, which is most of you guys, also please participate. And then there's also areas of the world where we have underserved resources that are far away from data centers and cloud providers and ISPs, where it's helpful to have people launching servers and things like that that are part of the network to support those regions. So another thing you'll notice big time is this very clear breakdown of Vertex, Lattice, and Arc. We talked a little bit about this last week. We did the whole diagram explaining how they all work. But you'll see that it's very redundant and very clear, so you'll learn all about it. Vertex is the lowest layer. It's the layer that's closest to the edge. It's where you guys are, where all the work is getting done. That's where Vertex is. So Vertex is the peer-to-peer meshnet technology. Vertex is the underlying library and engine that allows you to run workloads at the very edge. And again, just like we talked about last week, I don't think people fully realize the impact that this is going to have. Because we're taking Web3 technology, we're optimizing it for edge compute stuff. We're pushing these workloads to the edge, and we're applying the same trust models because we're using consensus, meaning that we've got 2/3 of the peers on whatever workload that's being done, validating each other, and then providing a proof up to different layers. So it's a hybrid approach to Web3. And I think this has been the vision from the beginning, is how do we make Web3 technology useful in the real world? Right now, I would argue that most layer 1s and layer 2s and even layer 3s are too slow and too costly for most real world applications. This is what we needed. We need a Vertex. We need something that goes and operates right at the edge on the devices of the people who are trying to solve the problem. So if you got a factory with a bunch of robots and you want the robots to coordinate, you want Vertex running on the robots so that they synchronize with each other and self-coordinate. Maybe your robots don't have enough compute, but you're in a factory and you've got multiple control devices and you want the control devices to synchronize with each other. Use the control devices to synchronize using Vertex. Self-driving cars. Self-driving cars have huge amounts of compute on them, and they could be synchronizing between each other to navigate through traffic lights and intersections. So Vertex is where most of the work happens, and you're going to see it over and over again in our documentation. We repeat how important Vertex is and the importance of low latency, high throughput, and these proofs of coordination. Then you have Lattice, which is that coordination layer. It's the substrate, if you will. It's the connective tissue between all of the participants that want to build instant Vertex mesh nets. It enables Vertex to happen seamlessly. And I think that's the important part. You can think of Lattice almost like the decentralized cloud of Tashi. So Vertex is your computers, it's your devices. Lattice is like the cloud. And this is where all of you are participating. If you're a node operator, that's where you're living, is in Lattice. And then Arc is the connective layer. It's all of the plugin ecosystem that connects Lattice and Vertex into the L1, L2, and even into the Web 2 space. So we've been talking about doing some payments and settlement connectivity into Web 2 space. So there's lots of opportunities in the Arc layer to do all of the connectivity that brings Vertex and Lattice into the real world. But again, I think this is a new structure. It's a new architecture. I know a few projects have talked about doing something like this, but it sometimes takes a little bit to get your head wrapped around it. So I want to make sure that's repeated multiple times. So you'll see that multiple times in here. We've got the economic opportunity. It talks about how rewards are divided, revenue-driven rewards, Tashi speculation rewards. By default, I think I even have a comment in here. Minimum stake, excess stake, incentive mechanisms, network loyalty bonuses, staking bonuses, peak demand bonuses, competitive dynamics, pooled staking. There's a comment in here, and I can't remember where it is, but but the idea is that reward points is how node operators are going to get rewarded, which means you're going to be compensated for the work that you do based off of the demand of the network and the revenue that's generated by the network. Optionally, you can swap that out for Tashi. And if you swap it out for Tashi, you now get to participate on the speculation side. So if you are a node operator and you want to hedge and you want to like take your revenue in USD backed reward points, you can do that. If you want to take your revenue in Tashi as a speculative asset, you can do that. Totally up to you how much you want to put in each of those categories. We're not shoving you down one or the other. But the default is for you to take it as reward points, which are backed by USD. And it's up to you to decide how quickly or how frequently you want to swap that out to Tashi and participate in the token ecosystem. So lots of fun stuff in here. Yeah, we still have some of the old stuff in here, which is node specifications, node types, node architectures. I am going to be updating a lot of this stuff over time. Reputation system. I love this page right here. This is one that it helps describe a little bit how we're thinking about job selection for participants in our network. The reputation system is key to the job selection algorithm. And so what you want is the highest reputation possible. And so there's a whole section here about how to build and how to lose reputation. What is the slashing mechanism that's related to it? All of these things are subject to change. But right now, these are what we have designed. This is what we've modeled. This is what we've simulated. Everything seems to be going swimmingly. And I love the elegance of a lot of these systems. There is a section here which is maximizing reputation. Like, how do you maximize reputation? And here are the things. Some of you have asked these questions. What is it I have to do to maximize my reputation? Right now, you're getting XP. You're not getting reputation. And so the question is, how do I maximize XP? The same answers would apply here. So, and it even talks about some common node configuration issues and how to fix that. So, and this is another thing I tried to do a lot is like maybe sharing a little bit of our motivation for why we built things a certain way. What are our design principles? And so there's this right here are some of the constraining design principles around the reputation system. Okay, cool. Protocol. This is mostly around the consensus technology. I'm going to revise this over the next few weeks. Hopefully by the new year, we'll have whole new sections that really focus on the network level protocol. So the lattice level of the protocol. We have a lot here that talks about like the low level consensus, which really is Vertex. We even have a section here talking about what a mesh net is and how Vertex creates that, what a proof of coordination is. But I do want to add more into this about how the different layers play with each other. So all of that will be coming. Okay. Okay, here's the exciting part. This is one I think a lot of people are going to really appreciate. First of all, we have a glossary. These are our definitions. This is how we think about these concepts in-house. Some of these are more public definitions, but in this case, these are very specific to how we think about Tashi and solving problems and using Web3. So when we come in here and we say something like coordination, what does coordination mean to us? Well, coordination to us is real-time agreement across trust boundaries. And that's very different than maybe the Webster's dictionary definition of coordination. But this is what we're bringing to the table. A lot of these concepts or a lot of these terms are really taking those terms that are common and adding a little bit of flavor that's meaningful for the space that we're trying to solve for, right? So in this case, the ability for independent systems to reach consensus on actions or state without centralized authority. This is what we mean when we say we are coordinating or building a proof of coordination. This is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to get real-time agreement across trust boundaries. Proof of coordination talks about that. Mesh nets is a peer-to-peer network where participants are both users and consensus nodes created when Vertex is applied to a specific coordination problem. So when we say things like meshnet, or I say something like proof of coordination, or I say Vertex, and you're like, what the heck are those things? Go into our docs, dig into the glossary. You can see on the right side, we've got it broken down by core concepts, architecture layers, consensus terms, network terms, economic terms, DePIN terms, application terms. We wanted to make sure that when you start seeing words in our documentation or you see it in our materials and you're like, what does that even mean? Go here to the glossary and look it up and figure out what the heck we're saying. If I'm missing terms in here, if I start using terms and you're like, that's not in the glossary, I don't know what you're talking about, let me know. I will add it in here. Because lots of times we pick up words and I start using it and I realize that the world doesn't know what I'm talking about. So we definitely want to make that easier. Here's a fun little one that one of our advisors suggested, that we come up with Satoshi as the smallest unit of Tashi. It's a nod to Satoshi, of course. So, and then the next section that I think is very important and will be very useful is the FAQ section. So in this section, we've gotten lots of questions from people in our community. I appreciate the questions. I try to answer as many of it as I can. Those of you that have outstanding trouble tickets in Discord understand this is not an easy problem to solve or an easy thing to address all the time. We try to get to those things as quickly as possible. We're a small growing team and we're moving super fast and we're trying to get products to market. We're dealing with both demand side, so bringing on customers who are going to be using the technology, and the supply side, which is you guys. And so we're bouncing back and forth, limited resources, but we're moving forward with as much speed as possible. So sometimes you don't always get your questions answered in the trouble tickets. We're working through a system to make that easier. But I think it's important to have an FAQ section where the first thing we say is, when you ask a question, is it covered in the FAQ? Is it covered in the node operators manual? If it's in either of those places, we're probably going to point you to those documents going forward. If it's not in one of those places and it's coming up common enough as a question, it'll get either added to the node operator manual or into the FAQ or into the glossary, so that it's easy for people to reference. But yeah, we've got a whole bunch of questions in here that people often ask. How is Tashi different than blockchain? That's a pretty important question. Because I think when we think of blockchain, we think of L1s and L2s, which are kind of these monolithic general purpose ledgers, if you will, multi-party ledgers. And almost every one of them is a leader-based protocol. We're very different than that, right? Our entire stack is structured to be practical from day one. So lots of stuff right here, right? So obviously any scenario where independent systems need real-time agreement is where Tashi can be used. But here are kind of the things that we've been focusing on over the last year and the ones that we're really going after. Specifically, robotics has gotten really, really hot. And I honestly think that next year is going to be the year of AI and robotics, the combination of those two. So as we get more robots and more AI, it's going to be critical, as we increase the number of these devices, that we have a coordination network that is seamless. And so we're going to get, we already know AI has been blowing up this last year. Robotics has been getting really exciting the end of this year. Next year, it's going to be the combination of those two. So those are the two industries that we've gotten very much focused on. Obviously, FoxMQ fits into IoT super organically. And then gaming's where we started. So that's obviously a space that we're going to continue to serve and build on. But yeah, right now the primary focus is going to be on that robotics and AI side of stuff. So anyway, all kinds of questions that are answered here. So what I'd really like to see is I'd like to see people asking questions in Discord and other people copying and pasting links from our documentation back to those people. If you can't tell, I'm a very particular person. I don't like to talk in hype terms. I like to talk in like simulations and modeling and real world feedback. I like to build products that solve a real problem and then get the feedback from that and use that feedback as a loop to inform the next phase of development of what we're working on. I know there's a big vision. We get to talk about all the things we're solving. I think sometimes we don't talk enough about that at Tashi. We really are focusing on the hard problems and the technical components. But I can't stress enough how different we are from how the rest of Web3 is operating, to the point where we have, I'll mention again, we have an L1 whose L2 is looking at using Tashi as the consensus layer for their protocol. So a major L1 in like the top 20 who's looking to use Tashi, specifically the Vertex library, as their consensus protocol or their synchronization protocol in their own L2. I think we're going to see Tashi being ubiquitous in a lot of the Web3 space, but also kind of the thing that pushes us over from Web3 and value and adding value into the Web2 space with this Web3 tech. So, okay. So those are the docs. I just wanted to go through those today because we launched it late last night. And so you guys really are the first public group of people to really see this. I want your feedback too. Like if something's not making sense, if something doesn't read well, bring it into our Discord chat. I want you to just take a link of the section. So you can go in and you can just grab a link of the section. I think in here, yeah, you can just grab the link at the top and then tell me which section. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Boom. So if you look at the section headings right here, they have this little hash next to it. If you click on that, you can actually grab that URL, or you can even just right click here and just copy that link. And then you can take that and drop that into Discord and say, hey, in this section, these pieces aren't adding up. I'm not ashamed to say we used AI to do a lot of the structuring and kind of grammar and spelling checking. I don't trust AI fully yet. So everything that we've used AI for, I've gone through and read 10 or 20 times to make sure that it's correct, because sometimes AI likes to drift a little bit in its meaning, and I like things to be precise. But that being said, sometimes things get looked over because I've looked at it so many times, I'm missing certain details. So if you guys find something, let us know, because I want to make sure that everything is as accurate and precise as possible. If something is misworded or needs to be worded better, let me know. I spend a lot of time rewriting anything AI says because I don't think it sounds natural. So while AI has been a great productivity tool for structuring content, I feel like I've probably rewritten almost every sentence in these docs multiple times, and I've been working on this for weeks and weeks and weeks. And last night we hit the publish button, and I was a little bit in disbelief, feeling like, oh wow, our docs are updated. Still plenty to do. Don't get me wrong. This is just specifically the white paper section was a big section that I wanted to focus on, FAQs and glossaries. So, all right. So that's everything that I have to share there. Let me see here. I'm going to check to see if we got any comments anywhere. I think we can actually move into a Q&A section now. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it in. Awesome. Yeah, Crypto Hunter, thank you for bringing that up. So the question is, I'll just read out Crypto Hunter's question for everybody on the stream. Last time you mentioned something about those who want to be more involved in the project, something that will resemble an ambassador program. Any alpha info on that? Not yet. There's not alpha on it. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to incorporate some ambassador-like functionality or features or challenges, missions, if you will, into our missions program so that you can earn XP for being part of, for doing things that an ambassador would do, which includes like helping other people in the community understand the technology, answering questions on our behalf, helping people with setting up their nodes. All of those things are useful, but ambassadors also take it to the next step. Like they do meetups, and there might be events that we want to throw in certain areas where ambassadors can kind of be, the ambassador for that event for Tashi. So that's a little bit more of an elevated role. What we've been talking about internally is baking a lot of the functions in the community into the XP program so that people who are supporting the community are getting recognized for it. So that's something that technically we're figuring out right now. The other thing that we're talking about internally is creating almost like an elevated role in the community. So in Discord specifically, a way to recognize people who are contributing, who are super helpful. Nulch is an example of one of these people who's very helpful in the community and very active in social. So, but those are the types of people that we'd want to give an elevated role, which would give them access to private chats with us, so they can ask questions directly, and we can answer those things directly where we might be too busy to answer in other channels because we're busy building the product. But you guys need the support, so we want to incentivize those people. I like the idea of an ambassador program because I think that it's an elevated level of responsibility, but it's also an elevated level of recognition and value in the network. And so figuring out how that all works into the XP system is really, I think, the key point, because like right now with most of the things we do with XP, it's automated. Like you do the thing and then we can track it and then we can show that. But with something like an ambassador program, it's going to be much more manual process. But again, maybe that's part of the roles of ambassadors is to multi-sign people's activity and generate XP proofs. So we'll talk about that. I mean, I'm just floating ideas out right now that we've discussed internally, but technically we haven't figured that out yet. But it is coming. It's definitely coming, and I think it's something that's important to us. We value all of the work from our community members who are super helpful. We've got a number of you that do that try to help people walk through their network challenges. I don't want anybody to feel like we're being silent, by the way, on network challenges, because we're rewriting the node operator software right now, so you don't need Docker and you don't need a shell script. That's going to take a few more weeks. We're making incredible progress on it, but I just want you to know that that's coming. So I apologize for those of you who are trying to figure out how to run multiple nodes behind one home IP address, or if you're trying to expose multiple ports. We'll try to help as much as we can. If I can get some time, I can do that at my house, record the entire process. I also have to be careful when I do record these types of things that I'm not exposing anything personal or private. But we definitely want to support you in those things. Those are a little bit outside of the basic installation instructions. But I appreciate those of you that are super users and those of you that have kind of figured that out. It is definitely, and I feel the need for it. It is definitely something that we could put together a walkthrough of how to do that. It's just a matter of time for us. And so anybody in the community that can do that, that'd be amazing. If you're like an IT specialist and you understand how to traverse NATs and how to set up multiple ports on your public IP address that forward to multiple internal IP addresses. And then additionally, you understand how to tell orchestrators. So this is the piece I mentioned last week that is a little bit unique to Tashi. So when you set up the node, you have to tell the orchestrator which public IP port or which address, which includes the public IP and the port, to reach this node at. So if you don't change that when the node starts up, then every node says the same port, even though they're going to have the same IP address, because you're going to have one public IP address. They're all going to say the same port. And after a few seconds, if you've got 10 nodes running, only one of them will appear to be running, because the other 9 will be ignored, because only the latest one that configured with the orchestrator with its port is going to get access to that port, is going to be recognized for that port. So we're working through how to make all of that easier for you guys with an installer. Right now, it's just kind of like if you're super tech and super network savvy, there is a way to make that work. But we also understand that a lot of you have multiple devices sitting around. You've got gaming computers, you got Raspberry Pis, you got all these things sitting around, and you want to run the technology on it. So we're working on that part as well. So, all right, next question. Will this be uploaded on YouTube after? It's a great way for people that miss this to see it afterwards. So yes, we will be pushing this to YouTube. That's part of the reason why I recorded this week. Last week, I forgot to hit the record button. I hit the stream button. I forgot to hit the record button. So, but this week I pressed both buttons. So I will have the recording that will get uploaded. It'll get cleaned up a little bit and uploaded to YouTube. And then we'll have the stream version will obviously be available on X from the stream itself. But absolutely, I want people to have easy access on YouTube to like just grab a timestamp and go, okay, this is what we're talking about. Crypto Hunter, any orientation on the time till the new nodes come out, just to know if it will be meaningful to create a detailed video guides on the current node setup? Ooh, that is an amazing question. I suspect by the new year. And the reason I say that is I've got a call with the front end dev tomorrow. So we started this process last week, right? So it was actually last Monday, I think it was. So Tuesday was the update for us. Last Monday was the day that I had my initial kickoff meeting for the new node software. The back end part is making great progress. That's the one that's the command line interface. I'll be giving some more updates on that as that becomes available. There is going to be a CLI that you can just go into and use relatively quickly. We'll say in the next few weeks that'll be available. We do have Christmas coming up, but we also have a new front end that's going to be built on top of the CLI. So the CLI is going to become an agent in the background. And then the front end will use all of the same features, all the same API interface. So anything you can do in the CLI, you can do from the user interface. And so that one probably is not going to be ready until just after January. So I'm sure that there are people that would appreciate a walkthrough video of how to do the current setup. But I'm going to say, like, at the earliest for the non-CLI version, for the GUI version, the user interface version, it's probably going to be early January at the earliest that's going to be ready. So great question though. All right, we got another question coming through. We'll wait for the typing to finish here. And feel free, if you got any questions, actually, let me check X real quick and see if we got any comments there. Here we go. Yeah, absolutely. M asked if anyone does do any of these guides, please share them in Discord so we can share this with the community. So yeah, I mean, I really want to see the community supporting each other. And if there's something we can do to help with that, we will. This is a great example though. If, like, Crypto Hunter, if you're thinking of putting that together and you want a little bit of direction, like, let's create a little private group in Discord. As a matter of fact, for anybody let's do that. I'm going to make the decision to do that. Why don't we I'm going to create a private channel. I'm going to invite Crypto Hunter and Nulch, and there's a few other people that I know have been working on this problem. And I'll invite you guys in. Who else was it that? Trying to think of the other people. Juan, I'll get you in there as well. But yeah, why don't we get a few people into that group, and so we can kind of, like, in that private channel, figure out all of the appropriate steps, so that the easiest way to do it, so that we're all kind of on the same page as far as how to solve it. And I'll get my lead engineer in there to kind of give a few hints. There's a few documents I can share that give you a little bit of insight on how to set up multiple nodes. So by the way, this is exactly how the nodes as a service do it. Nodes as a service are spinning up multiple nodes, and many of them behind the same IP address. So they just, like, separate them by port. So I actually have a batch node launcher that you can use to help you understand what's going on behind the scenes. And then if you guys as a group, if we can set that up in a little private channel, figure out how to present this to the rest of the community. And then if somebody wants to take lead and create that video for that and publish that to the Discord, that'd be amazing. So I'm absolutely happy to do that. And then when the new node comes out, obviously we'll launch that and talk through that process. So it's technically the same node software. It's just one of them is running in a Docker container that is managed by a shell script. The new node software is going to be that same software, but running in a CLI and with a GUI. So it's the same thing, just kind of like directly running on your machine as opposed to running in a Docker container. The reason we did that is just initially the shell script of the Docker container is the shell script helps us set a bunch of variables for the Docker container, lets us explore your operating system and set those variables. And then we can actually use multiple Docker containers. You might have noticed you have one that spins up that does all the cryptography. And then that's used to set up your main Docker container that runs your node. And then the first Docker container goes away. So it actually shuts down. And the second Docker container continues running with your node software in it with all the configurations from the initial Docker container. So yeah, there were different ways to to skin that cat. And that was probably the quickest way for people that just wanted something quick and dirty. But now we need to get more serious and make sure. I mean, let's think about this from where this is going, right? What is the vision of a node operator and their software? And I've thought about this extensively. Suppose you've got, we'll use gaming as an example because that's the one I put most of my thought into. But if we think about this from a gaming perspective, imagine you've got the launcher for your video game, and that launcher has the Tashi node software installed in it. Then you as a game player could be playing your game, and then when you're done, when your computer's sitting idle, the software could say, hey, would you like to earn some in-game credits? And you go, yeah, sure. Check that box or toggle that toggle. And now when it'll just say, just leave this launcher up and running, maybe even minimize it down to your taskbar or somewhere else. Go do other things that you need to do if you're browsing the web or whatever, or you're going and you're done with your computer for the day. It's like, just leave it on. And while it's running in the background, you're earning something, right? And so here's the cool part is if I'm a game developer or a game studio, I would incorporate Tashi into my game launcher. I would tell players, hey, if you leave your game running or you leave your launcher running in the background, not the game itself, but the launcher running in the background, you'll earn in-game credits because you're helping other people play the game, right? If that's the argument of like, hey, your machine is now going to support other people playing their games, and I'm going to give you in-game currency so that you can get benefits in-game, which is the thing that you care about. You don't care about crypto. You're here for this video game. But now you've got this in-game currencies you're getting rewarded from. Now the game developer is getting paid in the reward points and in Tashi. So now the game developer has created another line of revenue, and they're giving gamers what they want. And the gamers opt in to become part of this process, and they get to become nodes. So that's one idea of like how we could take the node operator software and embed it into other applications. Gaming's a good use case, but it can be embedded into any type of application where it makes sense for that application to be a node for other participants in a particular use case or particular vertical. So anyway, that's kind of the vision, is this idea of software developers rewarding their software users for leaving their machines up and running to utilize their underutilized resources, and then the software developers generating a new revenue stream through the Tashi DePIN, so through Lattice. So there's multiple layers of economics here. There's multiple opportunities here. But that's how we're thinking about node operators, right? If you want to run a node yourself, explicitly attach your wallet, now you're earning the rewards and you're earning the Tashi. But if you're just a computer user and you don't care about crypto, you can still participate in the economics of this. And it actually makes it more affordable for software developers to build their software because now they've got a new revenue stream and a decreased infrastructure cost. So multiple angles of economic benefits here. Okay, cool. You guys are the first though, so I appreciate that. We got, it looks like Crypto Hunter's typing his comment. We're at the 40-minute mark. We've kind of covered everything I wanted to cover in the white paper with regard to updated docs, glossary, FAQ, the ambassador / community leader program, I think is going to be a good addition that we'll be working on how to incorporate those of you who are very helpful. But I think the first step here is as soon as we get off of this update, I'm going to go ahead and create that private channel, invite a few people, give them whatever resources I can with the limited time that we have, and make sure that we can get whatever helpful resources we can out to the rest of the community. Crypto Hunter's last comment: the best approach is to wrap up all in a simple, almost Web 2 UI. Agreed. 100%. I mean, that's exactly what we've built. We've built it from the perspective of developers aren't going to buy crypto to use this network. They're going to swipe their credit card, get an API key, download an SDK, load the API key into the SDK, and then use the network, use the software. And so what we've done is we've built, and maybe we can talk about the bridging mechanism in a future call, in a future update, maybe closer to when we actually have the bridging mechanism sorted. But we can talk about that later. The idea that there is a Web 2 bridge between developers and Lattice. And Tashi's going to run the first bridge, but technically anybody could run one of those bridges for whatever use case they want. But you're absolutely right. It's got to be that Web 2 experience, that Web 2 UI and experience. So, all right, we got 2 more comments coming in. Yes, sir, Nulch, that is correct. The less techie, more Web 2 will really make it easy for the mass adoption. Yeah, and we knew that when we launched the Docker container, we knew that our first set of users were going to be a little more savvy or even willing to go through a little bit of pain to participate in the network. We knew that was going to be the case, but we want to take all of that away. By the way, as we sign out today, I want you guys to notice something here. We cracked 58,000 this morning too. So the node counts are going up. You guys are doing your work. It's exciting time to be part of this decentralized movement. Like I've seen a lot in this space. I've was one of the founding employees of Hedera. So I saw building a public network from scratch and building that to a multi-billion-dollar market cap. I've seen this working with a lot of Web3 projects and helping them as a consultant. So I've seen lots of different projects in this Web3 space. And I feel like we're getting to the point now, this is where Tashi's going to allow us to cross over into the Web2 space. Everybody talks about the killer app of what's going to bring Web 2 to Web 3. I think that's the wrong direction. I think we got to take Web 3 to Web 2. It's got to be intrinsic value to them before they pick it up and adopt it. And I think we're right there. So, all right, guys, everybody, thank you so much. We do need to build a swag shop for people to buy the caps. And we got some shirts too that we were wearing at Token. So we're going to have to launch some swag because we got some sick swag. Like this cap is killer. Although this you'll see it has the gold trim on it. I don't know that I'm going to let anybody else have the gold trim. We'll do white trim by default for everybody else. Maybe we'll even do silver trim for some special people. But I think I'm going to keep the gold trim for myself. But we can do all kinds of colors too. Like I have all kinds of ideas there. But, priorities. I'd like to spend a lot of time working on that stuff. But yeah, we got a lot of other stuff to build too. So, all right, everybody. Always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me this week. We're going to do this again next Tuesday. Actually, I think we're probably just going to do this every Tuesday going forward. I don't think there's any reason not to do it on Christmas week because Christmas is on Thursday. So I think we should be okay on that Tuesday to do an update as well. So that all being said, I will see you next week. Thank you again for joining. Cheers.